Were you speeding when you first came up
No,
to you?
it was funny because
Tom, come on. I want you to
wasn't.
throw it out
I
there
wasn't
because you went through a lot of insecurity there for a minute.
No,
Plead the fifth, Tom.
because I. Relevant Rants. We're here today. I'm here with Alex Howe.
Yes.
And my
Big
friend, the infamous Scott Winkler.
Notorious.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
His son told me yesterday he's on the golf course way too much. I said, well, he wants to beat you guys.
I have to golf 3 times harder just to keep up with those boys.
Instead of a notorious BIG, you're a notorious attorney.
Wow, look at that. Alex is throwing it out there right now.
Yeah, well, you just got to give up because those young guys are going to catch our seniors.
They have caught up with me, so I know. I need to start walking more. That's my goal from now on. I just get out to the course and walk, opposed to get into the lazy cart and just go from hole to hole. Exactly. But I'm working it.
I love it.
What do you got going today, Tom?
What I got going today is, as I read and I love where we're at as a country. And then when I read that we've got this B5 variant coming out and everybody's talking about it, I'm like, let's get over this.
Well, wait, back up. What is the variant? This is back to COVID, correct?
Is it still, It's still Omicron, isn't it? Or is it something new now?
It's my understanding it's new.
I can't figure it out or not.
Right.
Because is it new or is it just something we're living with, and all of a sudden they're wanting to throw some chaos back into our life?
Right.
Which is when I read it, I'm like, you got to be kidding.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, there again, I've had COVID conventionally.
I've also had COVID. Yeah.
I had the J&J shot.
Right.
And then my doctor said, no more. We're holding off. We're not going to do anymore because, I got to just say it. When I got it, I'm really skeptical that it worked. We see people getting it over and over again. My wife and my 2 daughters have had it twice.
Right.
And we've all survived it.
Right.
Thank God. And and I do know other people, and I do know it's real. I've lost friends to it originally. But at one point, I'm listening to my doctor, and he's not even convinced anymore that we got to keep doing this.
To kind of go off of what you said, what's interesting is, just by coincidence, first of all, not a doctor, know nothing in detail about this, but I will say, I was reading the paper last night, and I saw that article. There was an article I saw that said, I think it said B5 variant is now the most prevalent variant that's out there. It's surpassed the Omicron, and that's over, I guess, something called the B4.
Yeah.
When I started reading it, I know where your questions come in, because it's sitting there saying, and as far as we know, this is how I thought I read the article, the current vaccines don't cover this particular variant, and they're working on new ones. So they're saying, booster. Again, not a doctor, but I'm like, they don't have any proof that these vaccines are going to cover, but they're telling us, but go get boosted anyway. Whether I understand it or not, if a layman person like myself is reading the article, I don't know how you cannot have questions over this.
Well, you have to, because I did it. I bought in.
Yes.
Yeah, I did. I bought in.
Full go.
And then all of a sudden, when I was calling my doctor, he goes, no, I'm not sure we're going to get a booster. You had your J&J.
Right.
We did what it was said. So let's just, not do it. And so I called him again. He goes, Tom, I would call you if I wanted you to get this.
Right.
And he goes, I'm not calling you.
Right.
And so he worked for a very prestigious hospital in Southern California. And so as I'm there, and honestly, what he's worried about too is I got a heart problem.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so I've got the heart problem. I was all about getting it covered for that.
Immunocompromised.
Yes,
right.
but and so now, and my wife is immunocompromised. She has a hybrid Crohn's.
Right.
And they don't want her to even get the vaccination.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when they're telling us this, we're listening to our doctors.
Yeah.
And then I read it, and I'm like, whoa. Then I think, all they want is they want control again.
Right.
I'm just saying it like it is. If you disagree with me, please disagree with me. But they just want control again.
I'm going to say one last point, but I think it's interesting.
When I say they, who are they?
Right. No, I understand what you're saying.
It's like somebody wants to
hurt us.
Yes.
Whatever you would like to say.
Whatever word we're trying to get at.
Well, I don't think it's a control thing anymore. I think it's just a knock hey reminder to be depressed and sad and and just to be cautious all the time about things. But to me, I think it's like, obviously if you are like health compromised, be safe. Obviously, if you're vaccinated, that's excellent. But also, just like the people that will survive, just need to move on and just live our lives. Like I've gotten COVID, you've gotten COVID. I don't know if you've gotten COVID, but
I don't know, to be honest. I've never tested positive as far as I know.
Well, I'm still having friends and relatives still testing, and being sick and then getting over it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that have never had the vaccine.
No, I'm
and
with you.
And they're still rolling through it. But there again, this is something when people say we got to protect other people. I drove here to the studio today. I'm going to drive home. I'm going to fly out of Bakersfield to Tennessee on Monday.
Yep.
There's less of a chance of me getting killed in the airplane than there is on me driving home.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm, you know, and other people are driving around me.
Right.
So, you know, I am cautious about other people, what I do to keep them safe. And I think this is an area where we've had it. We've had enough.
It's time to move on.
Let's keep looking because we got other problems to worry about.
I agree.
Where else we going?
What do you got, Alex?
So this is a complete tragedy, and there's not a lot of news out yet about it because it just happened. But the former Prime Minister of Japan was assassinated yesterday, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's not much to say about it. We just wanted to address it. But I found out from CNN about Japan's gun laws, and I'm kind of
They're a good source for gun laws.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this isn't. We're not trying to trivialize things, but it's more of a. This is more of like a hey, what if like we adopted some of these things in the United States? What do you guys think about them? And so basically, to start off, only guns permitted for sale are shotguns and air rifles, and handguns are outright banned. But that's not just all. So to keep in mind, as far as I know, that I think the statistic is that there's only like 9 gun deaths on average a year in Japan, which is excellent, by the way.
It's amazing.
There is a homicide.
So it's still going to happen.
Yeah, there's a homicide problem in the United States. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we could debate like
cities are
forever
hitting
and
record
ever.
Numbers for the first time in years. I think New York is about ready to surpass where they were several years ago.
But regardless, so this is what Japan does. But this is from CNN. It could be different. This is the only place I found it so far. So, one, you have to attend an all-day class, pass a written test, pass a shooting range test with an accuracy of at least 95%, undergo mental health evaluation and drug tests, undergo a rigorous background check, including a review of their criminal criminal debt, involvement in organized crime, and relationships with family and friends. After obtaining a gun, the owner must register their weapon with police. That's pretty normal, and provide where their gun is and ammunition. Provide where their gun and ammunition is stored in separate locked compartments. And it gets inspected by the police once a year. And the gun owners must retake the class and sit every 3 years to renew their license. And then, what do you guys think of that?
Sounds like what we're going through pretty much right now.
Yeah.
If you
wait, let me back up. Do you think that those requirements right there would ever pass in the United States?
No, yeah, exactly. Like, but also like
but you know what, Scott? I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Right. No. What I'm saying is, he said in the beginning, there's been 9 deaths.
Yes.
Then you look at where we are at as a country. All I've said the whole time is there has to be a median somewhere between a somewhat more restrictive versus, are you 18?
Also,
there has to be something
and
in
also,
the middle.
And also, based off what CNN has said, it's also and generally from the sources I've seen, not only is that a thing, like those are the requirements,
right?
But it sounds to me like there's more than just that keeping you from owning a firearm,
right?
Because as far as I know, I think on average, they don't own firearms. Period.
Right.
Like the average citizen doesn't own a firearm at all.
Very limited firearms.
Yeah.
So, but come on, we're going to be realists here. A lot more people than they realize have guns in Japan.
Well,
I'm just telling you. I've seen the movies.
Yes.
Well, what's interesting, Tom, is the individual that has allegedly killed the prime minister had a homemade weapon. It was so clearly there is. I guess we're making a big assumption here, but there has to be some kind of underground where they're not going through the typical protocol to get weapons. So I think that's a safe statement to say, there is an underground that owns a lot of weapons, and obviously there's some that are good.
I used to be a chaplain at the Wasco State Prison. I used to be a chaplain for a decade at the California Departments of Corrections. I could get into any prison in California, Pelican Bay, San Quentin, Wasco is where I spent most of my time. If you ever go look at their museum of weapons that they have handmade guns.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Well, that's a problem right now. That's a noted problem here.
So you can have a contained, lockdown environment. They're going to make a gun.
Right.
And so you're not going to stop this problem. It's just not going to happen. So you can go out there. But when I listen to some of this stuff, and I do have a CCW, and I do have a shotgun at home, and you get to have a shotgun or an air rifle, right?
Yeah.
Somebody comes to my home and going to shotgun all the time, right?
Hey, I can't
Right.
edit that.
Absolutely.
What's the statement about a pistol? Pistol's just to get you to your long gun or your shotgun, right?
Right.
And so it's going to be common sense. But a lot of these things, if you have a CCW, you're going to go through, and you're going to go through training every 2 years,
Yes.
and you're gonna have to get the sheriff to buy off on the fact that you're going to have, and there are requirements to owning, and no matter what people think about gun law,
Right.
there are requirements that the sheriff wants you to have. There's
Right.
a modicum of responsibility that they've got to have to make sure the weapons are in responsible people's hands.
To play devil's advocate, though,
Yes.
how would you feel if, instead of being able to just buy a gun outright, which I think is our constitutional right,
Right.
I feel that way.
Right.
But how do you feel about a CCW type exam once you own a firearm, or like a specific type of firearm?
Well, you do
for
have to
the
take a
general
written
public?
exam for just to buy a gun.
Yes.
Right, but I think even
And
to
it's
play
basic
devil's
question.
advocate
Yeah.
more is not only do you take the exam, you're
have to
giving
be as
you're giving
accurate.
law enforcement the ability to, in 1 year, come back and check it out or check you. I
Yeah.
mean, see, I think the bigger problem we have here is the tell. You can't have really a tell. You buy the gun, you go through the steps, but if there was a tell attached, like you need to check in with us every year or this, that's where it gets problematic.
Well, Scott, now you're an attorney. So the Department of Justice just told us that all the gun owners and CCW holders in California information
yes.
just got out.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Just
Yeah.
got
It
out.
got
So I
leaked.
think they know. So was that on purpose or not? Because I think now there's information that is publicly accessed where they're going to be able to check.
You know, that is so funny
Yeah.
you went down that angle, but I will tell you this.
I went down that hole.
When I read that article, I think it was a week ago, right?
Something
When
like
I'm
that.
reading that article, you know when you read something and there's just a stank that comes out? Like I'm reading them like, there's no way this just happened. Because it was like everything
We don't
but
know who
their
leaked
personal.
it.
I know, but it just seems so ugly. You're like, something's up with
It's
this
same thing
article.
with the whole Supreme Court thing.
Yes,
like that leaked
no,
too.
absolutely.
I tend to like it. This is all like, this is no
Just
facts being
conjecture,
stated.
right.
This is just thoughts.
Yeah.
Is that I find it fishier when they have a leak and they don't try to go after
no
the
one.
person
Oh,
who leaked it.
absolutely.
Because
I
like
agree.
when the old NSA stuff started happening with Edward Snowden,
Right.
they got that guy and they had a
Boom,
witch hunt
they
on
did.
him within a day.
Yes, I agree.
So it's very fishy.
It's the same thing about Jeffrey Epstein's guest list.
Yes, yes.
Ghislaine
Man,
Maxwell,
you know,
whatever her name is.
Somebody's got the list.
Someone has a list, and we don't know who's. The thing is they can argue over who, but until that list is brought forward, probably a lot of people would freak out.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I think the three of us are safe.
Can we just
Yes.
say if Trump's name was on it, we would know about it by now?
Yes, exactly.
Who knows? Because I think with the political climate today, if one of the leaders of either side were on
I think
it,
there's
we
way
would
too
know.
many people that we actually think are fine that are probably
That
on
are
that list.
I agree.
And I think that's why it hasn't come out yet, because there's both. I bet you both
Right.
parties have dirt on each other,
I agree.
We all
allegedly.
we all get the pitch of it. But when a list
Just
like that
signals right there.
when a list like that comes out, you do know. And this is my morning. So today I'm going to the gym, and there's a police officer following me, and I'm thinking, oh, I better check my speed. So I looked at my speed, and I go, oh, he's bumper clocking me.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
You know it. You
I
feel
know
it.
So I'm like, okay, it's great that my car shows me what the speed limit is and how fast I'm going, because I'm doing 5 miles under it. And I go,
Right.
oh, now he knows I'm doing 5 miles under it, and he probably ran my reg.
Right.
And knows who's in it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I go, okay, well, if he knows who's in it, maybe he will pull me over or not, based on my criminal record. But I had this thought going on in my head.
That's the process.
Yeah.
But I think, I was very observant of the law, and I was knowing somebody's watching. And when I turned left to go to the gym, he didn't, and he just kept going straight. So there was a lot of processes that happened within that time period.
But look, can I ask one
I was
thing?
willing to say, I'm an open book. He can run my rag, he can run all these things, and whatever information he has on me, he'll make a decision to pull me over or not, and I'll comply.
But let me ask you this again, to play devil's advocate. In order for you to go through the information in your head prior to, were you speeding when you first came up
No,
to you?
it was funny because
Tom, come on! I
no,
want you to
wasn't.
throw it out
I
there
wasn't because
you went through a lot of insecurity there for a minute.
Plead the fifth, Tom.
because I knew, even though I did recognize he's behind me, I had to make sure I maintained the speed limit, I maintained the law. But I had just left through a stop light that was red and
It
then
was
green.
orange.
It was red and green. So he's behind me, and I was like, oh, okay.
Was there a hint of you that said he may have saw me do something questionable?
No, not this
Tom?
morning.
Quit being an attorney
Not
right now.
this morning. No, I'm not saying I always am just sure
Right.
of what I'm doing, but not this morning.
Right.
I was doing the mental check. I just came out of my neighborhood,
I'm
got on the
good.
street, I stopped at a stoplight, took off. There he is.
Okay.
So as he was there, I was just like, okay. So he is checking me out. I mean, we all know what it's like when you be in bumper clock.
It happened to me 2 days ago, and I was going a little fast when I saw the cop, and he turned around, and in my head, I'm like, what am I going to tell him? What story am I going to use? Can I make it to my neighborhood? So I was a little guilty.
But I think it's okay because we're willing to accept that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I said, okay, he'll pull me over. I'll be late to the gym. And I had a Bible study, so I was like, maybe I won't go to the gym. I'll go to Bible study
Right.
now.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's going to take longer than 20 minutes to
go through it.
Yeah.
That's for forgiveness for speeding or whatever.
Yeah. You know, and so as we go through that, Scott, you know, I think, I was like, okay, in my mind, I was preparing.
Right.
I was preparing to be pulled over, but I had a peace in my heart that, okay, I haven't done anything wrong.
I'm going to try to use that as a segue to my last topic.
Yeah, go for it.
You said because you're an open book, they can check my history. They know all of this is going on, and you feel comfortable about what you've done. The last topic I want to bring up is the women's basketball player, professional player, Brittany Griner, who was arrested several months ago in Russia, who just this week ended up pleading guilty to the charges. We don't know what the background is, but what's interesting about her case is she's in a foreign country. Regardless what the politics are, whether we should help or not help her, I'll back off of that and just ask. She goes over there with no slate. I mean, the only thing on her rap sheet right now is American.
Yeah.
Right?
All right,
And
tell the audience what her charges are.
Now, I think what she was initially busted for was bringing in cannabis oil or I don't think they haven't
It wasn't even
proven-
THC, right? It was
I don't
CBD,
know
right?
if we haven't given information whether it's THC, but I do know it was it was 0.25 grams. So that would be just a small cartridge if it was the worst thing in the world of cannabis oil. And I think she was brought in for smuggling it in, which has a 10-year lid. And I think she pled guilty this
Smuggling
week.
in her pocket?
Smuggling, yeah, in her bag, I guess, at the airport. And I think she pled guilty this week to doing the charge, but as an unintentional basis, right?
Yeah.
If I remember. My question is there a backdoor agreement? Is there a backdoor sentencing already worked out where they did this so Russia could save face and say we didn't hold her against her will, we had a legitimate reason? Or will she go to sentencing and because it's Russia, they just say, bam, 10 years?
I think America has a responsibility to do whatever we can do to help her out.
Okay, I
agree. I think that we've all been in that position. My wife smuggled fruit from Maui to Oahu.
Right.
You know, we didn't know that was
Right,
illegal.
you don't know, right.
Because she put an orange in her thing when we left the hotel room, and it clearly stated no vegetables.
Right, has to go through customs or whatever.
So my wife had to go to a special line.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, you're
criminal
a law
line.
broker. You're a lawbreaker.
I think
so it's a technicality, but I think we've all had a water bottle with this, and we get caught before we board a plane, and we have to get rid of it and feel, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to do that. Well, I think that's probably where she is. You know, poor girl's just like, you know, in a foreign country. And I do think to be an American, one of our rights is that our country should defend us or at least stick up for us. Where you know, that's what happens when you get a passport.
Do we know why she was in Russia in the first place?
Well,
Just out of curiosity.
Now, this is where it gets even more political. She was playing professional basketball in Russia, in a Russian league.
That's right, okay.
And one of the female coaches, I'm not sure which team, came out this week and said, hey, if that was LeBron James, he would have already been released because of who he was. And
That's
I think
probably valid.
The angle they were taking is because he's a man, not a woman, and women are devalued in our country.
I think it's a
right
status
now.
more than anything.
It could be a status because there's all kinds of talks with negotiation. I do agree with what Tom says. You know, if a person is in this country and they are protesting various American rights, whatever they have, what makes our country great is they're allowed to do that.
And she's an
There is a
American.
freedom of expression for her to be here. and because she goes elsewhere, because she plays basketball in Russia, she's held up by some, party because it's a political prisoner, whatever it may be.
Like,
I don't think
theater,
I don't think you should ever lose your right to be an American. No. That's just my honest opinion. Whether she likes our country or not, at times we've never walked in her shoes.
I do believe an American passport is one of the most coveted documents in the world.
I agree.
And she had one of those.
Right.
And she said she was an American citizen.
Yeah.
And it had our country's stamp on it. So I think we have an obligation to her. We gave her a right to travel.
Yes.
Of course, her getting caught with that, I mean, probably what she had is legal in America.
Right.
Yeah.
And
she probably forgot she had it.
And I'm not even saying she had ill intent. I'm not supporting her that she didn't.
Right.
I'm just saying I think we have an obligation to help her.
Right. I agree. And I think it's very narrow-minded to say she broke the law, she has to get what she gets.
I would even argue it wasn't even inebriating. It probably just helped her sleep or something.
No, yes.
Like something not even like...
When you talk about an athlete, Scott, you've been an athlete, and, I don't know if you've been an athlete. I know you. I know you're
we're
not
both
growing up.
Major League eaters. So
but being an athlete, you watch what you put in your body.
Right.
So she's playing at a higher level.
Yes.
There again. I mean, a lot of people know my story about bodybuilding, but she's going to be careful.
Right.
To some degree of what she puts in her body. And I think she's probably being a professional athlete. I remember when I was, you have people that own your contract. You have people that own you, so they're going to make sure that you're okay. So I'm thinking there's a modicum of responsibility here, or at least an idea of thought that she went and it wasn't for a criminal purpose or
right. No, I agree. That's what Alice, I think.
Or a nefarious
deed, yes, absolutely. I agree. Well, what do you think, guys? We wrapped them up with 3 big topics today.
Yeah.
Informed them with one, at least, with the Prime Minister.
Exactly.
Tom and I hit him in the face. Are we signing off for the day, guys?
I think we are.
Relevant Rants, guys. Thank you. Can't wait for you to tune in and watch. Take care.